the Local Government Act. During this public hearing, anyone who believes that his or her interest is affected by the proposed zoning bylaw amendment will be given a reasonable opportunity to be heard or to present written submissions respecting matters contained in the bylaw that are subject of this hearing. All information, correspondence, petitions, or reports that have been received concerning the subject bylaw have been made available to the public. Council may ask questions of staff and public, but once the public hearing is over, no new information can be received. Council debate will take place when the bylaw is considered after the conclusion of the public hearing. At that time, any questions of staff will be for clarification purposes only. I will be inviting the public to come forward and present their comments. Speakers are asked to state their name and address for the record. They must limit their remarks, as been stated, to 5 minutes and include all the relevant information in their presentation. I just want to add that you're only allowed to speak once in the entire public hearing sessions, and the applicant will be speaking first, and the comments that are to be directed to the application and to be respectful, as Ms. Tynan said, of council staff and other members of the public, because everyone has a right to state their point of view. I would now ask the Director of Development Services to introduce the bylaws under consideration at this public hearing. Mr. Strachan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As noted, we have an official community plan amendment and rezoning application. The application my apologies. There we go. So subject properties on Banks Crescent, there's a number of parcels involved. The application is for a combination development that includes complex care, assisted living, and market housing. There's a number of buildings involved. It involves a comprehensive development plan. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, we'll move ahead to the speakers list. First, Mr. Fisher. I guess you'll address yourselves. So. Is the mic on, Jeremy?
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kurt Fisher, and I reside at 3866 Devonshire Drive in Surrey, BC. I'm a senior VP at the Lark Group, which is a 45-year-old family-owned development, construction, and innovation healthcare company. Our partner in this project, St. Elizabeth, a 110-year-old charity, is also here today and will speak later, and they are a not-for-profit. Thank you all for being here today to show your amazing love and passion for your community. The passion in this room is one of the reasons we believe the transformative, world-class, age-in-place project needs to be here. Thank you for that. I really want to say sorry and apologize, though, that all the information that we have, we were not able to reach everybody. We did a canvassing. We reached out to 3,000 homes. Of the people we spoke to, we had a 90% support for the project. That made us fired up and excited to come to the community with that great support. We'd also like to add that we came back a second time and spoke to a number of people that had signed the petition and were opposed to the project, and we felt they should hear the information directly. So we reached out to 1,000 people. We spoke to more than 300. And out of that list, we had 2/3 or 65% of that group of people either go to neutral or in support of the project. We're excited about both those numbers. So that means when the true information is out there from us, we apologize we couldn't get it all up to you before. 90% of the people will be in support if they didn't know much about the project. We also believe 65% of the people will be in support or neutral once they hear all of this information. So, of course, you're going to hear today all the positive aspects that we'll present and other Summerlanders will present of how it's great for the economy, how it's great for people to have an age-in-place community to live into, how it's an economic stimulus, how it provides DCCs and property taxes to the community, and we believe all of that is wonderful and a critical aspect for any project. We don't think any project should be in a great community like this unless it's going to have a really strong environmental impact and a financial impact, which we believe this project will. Okay, so the issues that we've heard, of course, is on traffic. So, of course, the OCP has a medium density project planned. So the project is planned to obviously be developed. It's not ALR land, it's always planned to be developed. Our traffic is 1/3 less than what was planned in the OCP. We're quite excited about that because any of the neighbors, when the project would be developed, would have 1/3 less traffic. Of course, we've heard about a bank stability issue. Well, the district of Summerland has done an amazing job marking the whole city in regards to where you can build and where you can't build. And of course, none of our project will be on any of the area that isn't stable and can't be built. And of course, we have wonderful engineers that are hired to ensure the stability of the project. As we also know, there's an issue with the hatchery water to make sure there isn't turbidity in the hatchery water. There's no issue of anything beyond turbidity issue, and we believe with the 4 engineers that have been working on this project that the turbidity issue can be accommodated through proper construction management issues, proper monitoring, aspects to ensure the fish have no turbidity than they've had through the life of the hatchery to date. What we'd like to speak about also is our corporate purpose. So we as a 46-year-old company, we've created a corporate purpose that speaks to the fact that we tenaciously create transformative world-class communities that empower freedom and fulfillment. We believe this project is exactly what that does. Transformative, world-class. The level of innovative care that will be in this facility will be a highlight for all of British Columbia. The technologies that will be here, the people that will live in this community and be able to experience that innovation healthcare is critical in our minds. So I'd like to thank you for your time today. I would like to really hope that you can listen to all sides of the project. And also I'd like to add, if we haven't answered all your questions, we'll be here to answer any further questions you have, and hopefully we can have you on the 90 to 65% of the project where we think you support it. Thank you for your time.
No, thank you.
So we're just going to take 1 second to readjust this podium because there's some feedback in the mic happening. So anyone that's at the very back, there's like 3 rows of seats up here. You can hear much better when you're up here at the front.
Hello, my name is Wendy Jans. I live at 6110 McDonald Street, Summerland. Good afternoon, Mayor and council members, fellow Summerlanders and guests. I spoke last year that there was no common sense in the location of the Banks Crescent development. There has been no change in the location, and so of course there's still no common sense either. But it's changed. Well, the number of units has increased. And this is important. There was a flash fire in Peachland last summer that reinforced just how quickly a fire can travel up a gully. If a fire happened in this one access gully, we would all be in very serious trouble. And I think we would be liable as well. But there is one major change that does stand out, and that is this council's resolution that passed on January 23rd, 2017. The resolution was that the council would not consider the Banks Crescent proposal without the resolution of the fish hatchery's concerns. The fish hatchery's concerns have not been resolved. The fish hatchery does not support this development. The resolution has not been met. Therefore, in my opinion, this council has an obligation to its citizens and its local businesses to oppose this development. In my opinion, the citizens of Summerland expect its council to meet its own resolution and show the integrity that is the core of this town. That is what we expect from each of you, integrity. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today.
If you see your name up on that list, please make sure you start the queue so you'll be ready to speak.
Hi, I'm Brian Udall. I live at 10718 Ward Street. I have never been to a meeting like this with so many people, so forgive me if I'm a little bit nervous speaking in front of everybody. But we've only lived here for 5 months, and I want to state that I've read many times at council in White Rock and South Surrey when I watched it on TV or when I read about it in the paper. They always said, oh, it's the same old faces, always disagreeing, always being the thorn in the side of the city council. Well, I'm here to say I'm not one of those people. I'm brand new. And I'm taking a big interest in this because it's really astounding, the turnout and the way people feel. So I just have a note to remind myself of what I'm supposed to say. Okay. So we have a parallel problem here that happened in White Rock, South Surrey. In White Rock, BOSA came along, a big developer, about 10 years ago, and changed the landscape completely. B-O-S-A, BOSA. And then after that, it was how come me too, and every other developer wanted it. Right now, there's 35 applications in White Rock for high-rise apartments, buildings, etc. My friends down there tell me they can't even get around anymore. They're in roadblocks and construction, lights everywhere. We moved out here to get away from all that nonsense. And now you've got a situation that is similar because in White Rock, and I'm not sure if they fixed it in the last 5 months since we moved here, but the water is dirty. It used to be an aquifer. It came all the way from Mount Baker, so I heard. And they tore down the aquifer that held all the water, and they got all these engineers on it, and it's a mess. People with a lot of dough, living in beautiful buildings, paying high taxes, drinking dirty, brown, serious brown water. They're really mad. I don't know what's been done about it because I'm not following it anymore. But we have a parallel situation here that could happen. I just can't understand why you, council, city, would want to trade what you have for a paltry $500,000 tax revenue when the trout hatchery produces millions of dollars to the province, and it's a sensitive area where you are, where it is Banks Crescent. So there's my first parallel I wanted to mention. And so I read in the paper, oh yeah, don't forget, let's remember, you know, anybody who thinks they're going to have this project and higher taxes, they're kidding themselves. It's going to happen. It happened to me. I lived there for 22 years, and it just went through the roof. That's one reason why I moved out. And then you've got, I read in the paper that there, I don't know if it's true or not, but it said in the paper that the city council here has never gone down to the trout hatchery to check out what those people are trying to do down there. If that's true, that is really disrespectful to people who love this town. The other thing I wanted to say was, you know, in the future, if the city wants this kind of project, then why don't you go out and solicit the kind of businesses, the kind of high-tech companies, the kind of people you want in your town, and allocate land that is acceptable to what all the voters really want. Instead of springing this on them, I mean, how many people here have actually gone and stood, looked down into that valley? It's stunning. It's a beautiful valley. It's precious. It's a sponge for water. It suits what it is right now. And to think of it being slaughtered with this LARP group, with respect, I think it's a great idea, but just the wrong place. Somewhere else in town would be good. And I want to thank you for listening to me so that the next person can move on. Thank you, Council.
Good afternoon, Mayor Waterman, councilors, staff members, and all the attendees that are here. My name is Chris Hassig. I live in Faircrest Street, and I'm also a new resident and taxpayer to the District of Summerland. I really want to express my utmost concern for this Banks Crescent development. I've read over all the letters, existence reference material on the website. I attended the January 8th council meeting. I brought forth my concerns during the public question period, and I feel that the risk to this development is too costly to the residents and the taxpayers of Summerland. My educational background is marine biology and geology, and so I am quite aware of the potential environmental risks posed to this development. Here are my concerns. The risk to the freshwater supply, to the fish hatchery. There are turbidity risks to the water table due to this excavation, the heavy trucks, their loads, and the lack of storm drainage. The existing aquifer hasn't been mapped, and the characteristics and the behavior associated with building activity is unknown. Where is the promised protection to the fish hatchery who opposes this development? The risk if the aquifer is punctured is great. It can lead to huge flooding costs for the town of Summerland. It happened in 2015 in West Side Vancouver, where their aquifer was punctured. The cost incurred was approximately $11 million that the city paid for, and I am not sure they got the money back yet. Over 2 million liters of water flowed out per day, and the local residents were on evacuation notice. The city manager and the residents were nervous about a possible sinkhole. There is also risk to the horizontal movement of vibration down the slope, ensuing sloughing and slumping of the ground silts. In other words, if water pressure from water seepage between the soil, surface, and the proposed buildings builds to an unsustainable level, especially during heavy rains, which we have had, it can lead to loss of soil stability. And these sediments can slip and take all the buildings with it. There's also a high development of road infrastructure costs on Sully and Latimer roads. And this will change the route from residential to a truck route to service this development. According to the official community plan, residential neighborhoods are supposed to be preserved, protected, enhanced, and the developments are supposed to be compatible with the surrounding area. This development is not compatible to the current neighborhood. Once construction begins, and if it is deemed too risky to continue in the District of Summerland, ultimately the taxpayers will be responsible to clean up the mess. During the last election, the mayor and the council platform deemed to preserve and protect the agricultural land reserve. Yet, a rezoning application is being considered to amend the official community plans to change the future land use designation from agriculture to high-density residential, and to amend the zoning bylaw to change the zone from agricultural small acreage zone to comprehensive development. So, I urge council to review the risks associated with this development, and I oppose this application, and I hope that they oppose this application. I am not opposed to new developments, but only in safe areas. Banks Crescent is an area that presents too high of a risk for such a large development. The long-term benefits from the fish hatchery and tourism for Summerland outweigh the tax benefits from this new condo development. As I have asked council previously, I ask again, why is the council even considering building such a large condo development in such an area of high risk? I still have not received a reply to my verbal or my written inquiry. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council, and other attendees. My name is Paul Glenn. I live at 418 Panorama Crescent in Okanagan Falls, and I felt it was important for me to be here today to introduce myself as the geotechnical engineer of record for this project. My firm, Rock Glen Consulting, has been working with the Lark Group since they began looking at the property. We've conducted boreholes, test pits, and done significant work on the analysis of the stability of the slopes on the site. We've worked with them to design programs of construction that will make this a safe site to live on, that will allow them to economically develop the property and put in place safeguards for the surrounding areas, including the underlying aquifer. I'm satisfied as a professional engineer that the analysis that we and other engineers, Golder completed a review of what's been done there and came to similar conclusions that the vibrations from construction work were unlikely to have an impact on the aquifer itself. I would characterize it as having a very low potential of impacting the aquifer. I am, however, pleased that the Lark Group has put in place monitoring in the form of turbidity, real-time turbidity measurements in both the aquifer and in the spring area that would identify if, in fact, there are turbidity events occurring. I'm also pleased that there will be vibration monitoring to confirm that what we've concluded in terms of the attenuation, the zone of influence of those vibrations is in fact correct. And to be able to assess if there is something in the way of a turbidity event, that what the cause of that is. My background here, I'm a professional engineer with over 40 years of experience, 20 of it here in the Valley. We've done numerous projects throughout Summerland, including on Solly Road, Bristow, and throughout the area, Faircrest as well for the lady there. And we're well aware of the issues with the lacustrine silts that we have here. And in fact, understand fully that water and control of that water is key to the success of any development, whether it's municipal, residential, or the kind of development that the Lark Group is proposing here. I'm also satisfied that the methods of construction that we use, which are pretty much conventional, but will take care to protect those soils from water, both during construction and during the use of the project itself. It's our role as geotechnical engineers to make sure that construction goes forward with in a safe manner, especially for the workers on site. We don't want to see anything happen there to affect that, and that in the long term, the stability of the development will also be ensured. It's something we've done, as I said, for about 20 years in the area now, so we feel quite satisfied that our level of understanding of how these soils behave allows us to bring that expertise to bear on this particular project itself. And I have been pleased with the feedback that I've had from the Lark Group in terms of what we're suggesting and recommending and working to come up with the best way possible to make this development happen. I appreciate the opportunity of making this brief presentation to Mayor and Council, and thank you very much.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. My name is Dave Carlton. I live at 10920 Canyon View Road, which I think you all know very well. I'm the president of Summerland Sportsmen's Association, also president of Region 8 BCWF. My main focus here is not about development. Development is great, but in the right location. And I mean location. This is not the proper location. As you well know, where I live on Canyon View Road, we have a slough issue there, and it has been going on for many years. We've had the best, I think, geotechs and everything else up there, and they have no idea what's going on. Council is spending a bunch more money this year drilling holes up there to the tune of, I'm not sure how much, in the thousands. The slough up there has been going on now for better than 80 years. Nobody can tell us why. My property is now being affected by it. This property where you're talking about putting a development now is in the same type of sand silt as I have. We are over 100 feet deep there now with drill wells, straight sand. Water running out into the creek, Trout Creek, the turbidity level there is so that the fish in that creek no longer survive on the upper reaches. Salmon that used to be there years and years ago do not come up there. The trout do not come up to spawn anymore. This area that you're talking about developing down there is in the same style of silt. Once you break that crust that's been there for thousands of years, you have no idea what's going to happen to that aquifer. I'm here on behalf of all the fishers in the province that these lakes are stocked. There's 800 lakes in the province, so they're stocked. 300 of them by this fishery alone. I do not want to see it destroyed. There's about $42 million that is generated from fisheries through that fish hatchery. I thank you for your consideration, and I hope that those here today realize what could happen and vote no. Thank you very much.
Worship and Council, maybe I should just hold this closer. My name is Jesse Zeman. I'm with the BC Wildlife Federation. We are the oldest and largest conservation organization in British Columbia. Our roots trace back to the 1890s. We are an affiliate member of the Canadian Wildlife Federation. We currently have approximately 40,000 members across the British Columbia. 40,000 people who are passionately dedicated to the conservation of our natural resources. We also have 108 clubs across the province, of which Dave's a member. We're terrified with what's happening with fish and wildlife. British Columbia is experiencing biodiversity declines all over the place because we're converting agricultural land into high-density housing, because we aren't managing water for people or for fish, and because we aren't investing properly into our decisions around resource development and extraction. Specifically to hunters and anglers, there are about 110,000 people in BC who buy hunting licenses every year, 280,000 people who buy freshwater fishing licenses, and 280,000 people who buy saltwater fishing licenses. So if you haven't fished or hunted, which most of you probably have, there's no doubt that you know a whole pile of people that do. These people spend about $1 billion in British Columbia annually. They also take money out of their own pockets to volunteer, to buy land, to restore habitat, to conserve our wildlife. There's a number of properties just south of here that hunters and anglers have spent their after-tax income to purchase so that everyone in British Columbia can enjoy conservation lands. These people are concerned about this proposed project. They're terrified because the Summerland hatchery is one of the oldest hatcheries, if not the oldest hatchery in the province. it stocks 300 lakes for these 280,000 people across the province that love to enjoy. I'm not even going to use up my 5 minutes. What I will speak to is there are 3 issues. One is, if you're going to designate a piece of land as agriculture in your community plan, you should probably stick to it. Moving the goalposts halfway through the process is not consistent with the discharge of proper public policy. The second one is, and we've heard from the engineer, I'll talk about professional alliance really briefly. We deal with professional reliance in the mining industry, we deal with it in the logging industry. Everyone in this room has probably heard of Mount Poly. There have been no charges laid in the Mount Poly case. No one has been accountable for Mount Poly in the province of British Columbia. No one. So when you don't underwrite your natural resources in the sense that you provide insurance for them and a plan, and you make informed decisions, you have externalities and outcomes which are inconsistent with the public interest. So when we hear that there won't be an issue, I think from our organization's perspective is, if there isn't an issue, who's going to underwrite the water for the Summerland hatchery? Who's going to take on the liability that if there is an issue with the water, who's going to pay to either find an alternate water source or to find an alternate location for the hatchery? I will say, I had a gentleman come to me earlier, we're not anti-development. I actually have a degree in business and working on graduate work in economics. So I'm not up here to say no to everything, but as Dave mentioned and a number of the other speakers, there's a place and a time for development, and that place and time doesn't include putting this hatchery at risk. Thanks.
Thank you, Mayor Waterman and members of council. I've watched this debate. My name is Craig Milton. I live on Bijoni Road in Summerland here, and I've watched this debate as it is festered in our community for a year now. And I've watched sometimes as the opposition has proposed boycotting businesses that support the development, and I've watched as they've used fear and often misinformation to advance their objectives. I want to address to talk my thoughts, I'm just going to address the pamphlet that came in the mail the other day, point by point, just how I feel about it. I've listened again and again as the opposition has described Bisto Valley as if it were located somewhere between Dawson City and Fairbanks, Alaska. It's 2.5 kilometers from the beanery, 5 minutes by car if you had missed the light at the highway. Is it really their suggestion that anybody over 65 from that side of the highway isn't using the businesses and the services in Summerland? I don't think that's a valid argument. And if folks in the development want to use the services down at the mall, IGA or RBC or Tim Hortons, they got to walk down the hill. I just don't think that argument holds water. From the developers and the residents' perspective, would you rather live in a pretty little valley down by the lake or Kelly Avenue across from the busy park with several often noisy events throughout the year? Now I'm sure Kelly Avenue and some of the other spots will be perfect for other developments, but I just don't see this being the one. That's not the type of development I think they're going for here. The stability issue, and this is perhaps one that frustrates me the most, I'm an architectural technologist and I work with architects, developers, and structural and geotechnical engineers every day. I understand how this works, and the fact that the opposition is willing to use fear and complete disregard for modern building science that protects them every day in every building that they enter is appalling and frustrating to me. These folks drive up and down the valley, they pass dozens of similar developments that are functioning exactly as designed on sites with equally challenging geotechnical considerations. The needs of the development dictate that the site be left more stable with better drainage than it currently has in order for the development to survive. To think that they're going to spend hundreds of millions of dollars and leave this place in a horrible state of disrepair, it just doesn't make sense to me. The people who live in, to propose this development, they live in and work in businesses and buildings that were designed and built using the same science they're now claiming is too unreliable to accept. They cite rare instances where engineering fails, and they try to pass that off as a reason to not even try. Imagine what kind of world we live in if that kind of thinking was allowed to win the day. Now in regards to the hatchery, and I'm a fisherman, I buy a license every single year, It seems to me that the hatchery might be taking the wrong stance on this. It's clear that they have operated for many years with their fingers crossed, hoping for the best. It seems that the need for secondary water source long predates this development, as far as I understand. The fact that they have been unable or unwilling to allot the funds to ensure some form of contingency plan seems to me to be somewhat negligent. If they're truly responsible for $100 million in revenue for the province, then it is shocking that they are relying on a single, reportedly declining water source for so long. Without human interference, the hills along the lake are prone to slides that obliterate the water sources, or that could obliterate this water source any time, any day, any year. Now, this development seems to me to represent an opportunity that they would be foolish not to try to capitalize on. This may be the chance to fix this. And it's let itself away because of hurt feelings, or because things weren't said exactly the way that you wanted to at the right time. It just seems to me that that's a bit reckless. This isn't a problem without a solution. These kind of problems are solved every day in projects up and down the valley and all around the world. The science is there if you're just willing to work with it. The comment on the traffic, well, you can't have it both ways. Either the tenants in the development are going to can't possibly make this arduous journey into town to use our services, or there's 2,000 cars a day coming up and down that hill. So, which is it? If there's 1,700 people, how does that equal 2,000 cars a day? Does each resident have 2¼ cars to use every single day? The math just isn't there. Either way, a traffic increase does happen, and I feel that that's good. That means that more people are using our businesses and services, and that's positive to me, not a negative. The health care, more employment for healthcare workers, more options for a rapidly aging population, more use of our pharmacies, medical centers, and healthcare professionals. These are positive things. Do many of the folks who moved here recently think about the burden that they were putting on the healthcare system before they moved here from Vancouver or Alberta or Saskatchewan? It frustrates me how many people move here and then immediately want the town to not change one bit the day after they move here. They just, it's perfectly good up to that day, and everything's going to stay the same, you know?
Thank you.
And I'll ask him about the liability.
Thank you. Your time is up, please.
Okay, sorry.
Thank you.
It was going to go on.
Barbara Robson, 6708 McDonald Place. Hello. Summerland needs people and tax dollars to survive. I support development properly placed. I am opposed to this development as Banks Crescent is not that place. You have a difficult job to do and must try to be fair when deciding on the proposal based on what you believe is best for Summerland, the citizens, businesses, and tax dollars. On a personal level, I too have a difficult job, accepting the decreased value on my property, should this go through, plus the prospect of living with a minimum 7-year build. I don't need to repeat all the reasons given to you over the past 22 months. You know them well. I was hoping I would get used to the idea of having this proposed development across the street from me, that I could change my mind and feel good about supporting it. I can't. And I've had 22 months to convince myself. Been at council meetings regularly to learn as much as I could, be in the know. I do understand the logistics involved, that City Hall must receive applications from developers, and council must do their own research to make a decision. What I don't understand is the positive spin from the very beginning that some people in City Hall and some people on council just seem to accept blindly. One councillor said, change is going to happen, people. Someone isn't going to be happy. To call this development an aging in place complex is not right. It is market condos for profit. Any age welcome, not designated to seniors. The 100 beds that are assisted living are private and costly. Healthcare by telephone calls to Ontario is not my idea of appropriate care. Our retirement dream when we bought our home was just that. We are here to stay, even being planted here permanently as we bought a cemetery plot at Canyon View. We were just that sure. Now, not so much. Will our loss be felt if we move away? Maybe. Are we just another taxpayer, just another not in my backyard grouch? My husband and I are proud to call Summerland home for the past 26 years, contributing to this community in every way, for the job and for the good of the community. its clubs and organizations. We love Summerland, we support it. We survived the constant drone and traffic of gravel trucks, concrete trucks, and construction going to and from Tuscan Terrace for 3 years. It was no fun living on the corner of McDonald Place and Solly Road with the constant noise of construction and traffic, but then you put up with some things knowing that is life. To think of 7 years plus build for this proposed development, however, is just too much. To think of losing our 100-year-old trout hatchery is just too much. To think of more tax dollars going to upgrades that are needed because of this proposal, our tax dollars going to make up for shortfalls by the developer is just too much. You've heard about slope stability, risks, and liability. It is all just too much. The present landowners have every right to sell or keep their land and make application to change rezoning. I get that. But we have an OCP and growth strategy in place to protect others' interests in the surrounding neighborhood, us, the hatchery. By refusing to rezone the property at Banks Crescent to CD8 high density, surely the present owners would work or sell within the confines of the present A1 zoning. Is it unreasonable to ask them to work within the multiple uses that are open to them in their A1 ag zoning? It could be anything from dog kennels to greenhouses. Yes, the hatchery will still be at risk, but not to the degree it is now with this proposal. I don't wish the current owner of Banks Crescent to suffer hardship or have rights denied, but where are my rights to keep my neighborhood intact? I ask each one of you to consider this as you decide which way to vote, yes or no. I don't know that slopes will fail. I don't know the hatchery will be destroyed, but you don't know that they won't. Thank you.
My name is Ellen Wood, and I live at 13801 Latimer Avenue. I'm speaking against the proposed Banks Crescent development due to the many factors already mentioned today. I will only talk on 2 issues. I am a citizen of Summerland, and I live in the affected neighborhood. I am appalled that the 425 units, townhouses, condos, etc., will more than double the number of family dwellings and homes on that east side of Highway 97 from Peach Orchard and south to where to Lakeshore and to where Highway 97 is joined at the bottom of the Summerland Hill. This high-density development rivals the density of Vancouver's West End. But all the traffic here will converge on only 2 entrances, a mere 100 meters apart, and at the end of a small road, Latimer Avenue. I am concerned about the number of older people who will live in the majority of the dwellings and their requirements for a family physician. There are not enough doctors to service the people in Summerland at the moment. Those who were patients of Dr. LaBelle know how hard that continues to be. In conclusion, I would like to thank our mayor and council who are doing their due diligence as they were voted to do. I do not envy their decision. Some people will be happy and pleased with the decision you make. Others will be upset. But we Summerlanders must come together, support each other, and live peacefully in this unique and beautiful community, remembering that when everything is said and done, there's a lot more said than done.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. I'm Joan Lindsay. I'm a member of the Southern Okanagan Sportsmen's Association and Vice President of the BC Wildlife Okanagan Region. My main concerns are fishing and the fish hatchery and the detriment that could happen to it should something fail. we hear about having monitors. That's always a wonderful thing to have the monitors in place, but usually when something happens, it's after the monitoring is there, that the sludge has already happened and the hatchery would be in disrepair. The other thing that I'm quite concerned about is not only the residents now and the adults, but the lack of opportunity for kids that are coming up. If something should happen to this hatchery, there would no longer be lakes for the kids to go fishing in. And it's a great concern to me that we have opportunity for not only us, but for our children that are coming up in the community. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Council. My name is Cheryl Jones. I live at 7311 Switchback Road. My concerns are those, same as those have been raised already. I believe that we need this kind of development. I think it's the right type of thing. It's in the wrong place and it has too many risks. I'm also concerned about the traffic and the parking that will be needed by this development. I'm also concerned about the seniors who are to live in this and how do they get into town to conduct their daily living. I disagree with the location. Thank you.
Good afternoon, councilors, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Bill Chidlow, and I live at 14616 Garnet Avenue. And I have spent 42 years in industry as a professional engineer. And I want to counsel about something. Selective use of facts in engineering report writing. I used to do it regularly. It happens. It has happened, and you must filter this selective use of facts. It's happening here. We hear from geologists, we hear from other engineers that this project before you is stable. Make your own decisions, but filter out the facts. And I need to point out to you that councils go on. There was a council 10 years ago, there is a council now, 10 years from now there'll be a council. Mistakes made then affect you. Somebody made a decision to save $34,000 by not laying 2 sets of pipes up Garnet Valley. And how much is it costing us now? Bunches and bunches, to the order of $2.5 million. So please make sure that you're not making mistakes on this project, or future councils will pay for it. I would also advise you that red zones exist for a reason. They were put in place by intelligent people with good expertise, and if you ignore it, you do so at your own peril. Protection of the aquifer. We've heard of mapping. Some has been done. Other people say there's not enough done. We don't know. And you have to make the decisions. And when I was writing those engineering reports using selective facts, I used to get very annoyed with people who would come and whisper in my ear that I needed to be concerned about the liability. Now you are having to be concerned about the liability. And finally, there is a quote floating around this community that infuriates the electorate. Done deal. We keep hearing it. What does it mean? Well, we know who said it. Do be careful. Thank you.
Hello, Mayor and Council. My name is Hans Reddies. I've been a resident of Summerland for 42 years, 25 years as an orchardist, and I have seen a lot of changes in the last years. When I came to Summerland, the population was between 6,000 and 8,000. We had one pharmacy. Now, the population has changed. We have 12,000. No functional hospital anymore. Beds were removed, very sad. No canneries, no packing houses. Yeah, yes, we have 3 pharmacies. So the population has changed. Fine and dandy. Now, I've seen houses going up, I've seen condominiums going up in Summerland. Some are really good places. I'm thinking of Birch Place and Linden Estates. These are condominiums right next to the arena. And a 2-bedroom unit is worth $325,000. Give and take a few dollars, but I checked it out, $325,000. Now, land could be made available in Summerland within 3 blocks from the city center. I'll get back to that later. Now, Banks Crescent, 400 units in a very sensitive area. Now, let's say Lakeview property, Lakeview condos, my guess would be between 450 and 500,000. Let's go with 450,000. Multiply this by 400 units. 450, between 450,000 and 325 is 125,000 difference. This is building down there or building in Summerland. Take 125,000, multiply that by 400, and what do you get? A 5 with 7 zeros. That's $50 million. And this is what Banks Crescents are aiming at. Never mind the fish hatcheries, they can overcome that. Now, why go 2 kilometers out of town over a busy highway? Now, when I came to Summerland, I heard a word I've heard before, mudjacking. Now, the council knows what it means. They've gone through that. It had cost them money. Let's not talk about this anymore. Now, getting back to what's available in Summerland. At the south end of Garnet Valley Avenue and Quinpool, there's land available. There's a strip of housing already there. Look at that, if you want to develop something. On North Victoria, next to Vista Estate, there's an orchard 2/3 surrounded by residential. It might be in the ALR, but it's 3 blocks from the town center. And once you're surrounded with residential, I don't think orcharding is possible anymore. It shouldn't be. Okay, coming back to this. In my opinion, Summerland will grow, but not on the east side of the highway. And think about the $50 million difference between building down there and in Summerland, because those will be high-end apartments, believe me. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. My name is Gordon Booth. I live 7515 Switchback Road, have done for over 60 years. Been listening to this project for almost 2 years, I suppose, and what I'm concerned about, I'm concerned with all of it, but the thing that I can't put together is because there's been so many financial figures put out there. Banks Crescent has been suggested that they're going to bring all kinds of money into the municipality to help us out. Most people in this room, in this town, I think, would believe, if not know, if they know this, but they don't want to believe that development costs money. We don't get anywhere by encouraging residential development in this town. Every year, my taxes go up, regardless. It's been suggested that this project is going to relieve Summerland of some of its tax burdens, which is absolutely and totally false. And I'm going to quote the mayor here from his 2014 candidates forum. He knows this better than the rest of us probably. He says, as we grow our economy, there will be demand for housing, but residential growth does not pay for itself. For every dollar of property taxes, costs over time are $1.20 at a minimum. This is what Mr. Waterman said. So it stands to reason that if a house is built somewhere in town for $350,000, it's going to cost all of us more money in taxes. If Banks Crescent goes through the 424 units, I can only imagine what it's going to cost us at that point. Thank you.
Hello, Mayor, Council and staff and public. My name is Marilyn Hanson and I live at 7611 Oak Avenue. We were promised a long time ago that the fish hatchery water supply would be solved. That problem would be solved before this kept moving forward, but that hasn't happened. Monitoring wells, as Lark has suggested, aren't going to cut it. If something happens that's wrong, that's not going to stop the problem. Also, lake water cannot be used. It has a fatal fish virus in it that does not affect humans, but that water would have to be made virus-free. It is not of the same consistent chemical consistency nor temperature. But my major issue with this development is the stability. The soil is glacial till and lacustrine silt, composed of very fine particles laid down by water. You go scratch one of our cliffs, you'll see it's powdery. And a UBC geology paper has classified lacustrine silt as intrinsically collapsible. It is subject to movement by water, rainfall, freezing, thawing, climate change, earthquakes. You've seen what has happened in California with all their landslides. And yes, I moved here in 1965. I'm an old timer. I've experienced a couple of earthquakes. We have fault lines in this community and we have fault lines down the lake. Buildings are constructed to support a downward load and earthquake movement is horizontal. So there are opinions here of the unaware, of people who haven't lived here very long. I have. I've seen 2 massive landslides in Lower Town. One killed the man who fixed my radio the week before. It covered about 60 feet of road with 4 feet of silt. And then there was that was in 1970. In 1972, there was another, 1992, there was another one. The road behind the sewer plant, Arkell Road, collapsed massively. There's a tractor under there. They didn't dig it up because it was too much to dig into. There's a cleft off the highway when you enter Trout Creek. That's Zimmerman's Gulch. Orchard trees fell into that. You used to be able to walk there in a very nice trail. And if anybody has walked on the West Bench or Sage Mesa, there are sinkholes. So I say that many people who are for this project have not seen all the landslides around here. Now, we have Tuscan Terrace. It's a good example of what can happen. It's built on a bluff. The sediments are the same as in Banks Crescent Valley, and the buildings have too much weight without deep pilings, and so the structures have moved. Owners of these residences have no recourse, no way to sue anyone. The builder is long gone. And yes, a geotechnical study was done of this area. And we have the same problem with Banks Crescent. There have been studies made, but as somebody mentioned, and we know the aquifer has not been mapped. Who will be on the hook for liability? Linda Tynan said at our one council meeting, the people of Summerland will be on the hook. That could be massively expensive for us, and we're not too pleased about that. There are other potential costs for roads, and if you live nearby, how would you like your front yard cut off to accommodate a private developer? Yes, those front yards have road allowance, but it wouldn't be very pleasant to have your front yard cut off. The location is bad because of land instability, because it will possibly threaten the fish hatchery, and it's not easy to go from there into town if you're on a small scooter as a senior. I wouldn't want to be there. Also, the builder talked about views. It's probably only the north-south building that would have a lake view, and only at the top. So I do think this is the wrong place. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mayor Peter Waterman, councilman, district staff, Summerland residents. My name is Gary Tamlin. I live at 1171 Caledonia Way in West Kelowna. I'm one of the owners of the Banks Crescent property. I was born and raised in Summerland. My age, born in 1956, so sometimes I think I'm younger than I am, but I've been here for a long time. My roots are here. My mom and dad, John and Ellie Tamlin, they brought us kids, Bob, Mark, Janet, and my sister-in-law, Marilyn. They're still here, enjoying what everybody else enjoys here. So I just want to say that our roots are deep. I've been in the healthcare industry for 30 years. I'm still an active nurse. I found the property 2 years ago just with a friend of a friend introduced us with the Langs. I was so excited to meet the Lang family, and of course the Lang family's own Lang Vineyards and started that. And they sold that a while ago, and this was their last chunk of property, this 14 acres. So when I met the Lang family, I was so excited to meet a vibrant German European background that wanted to leave something for Summerland. They love Summerland as I do, and my family has, and still does. But they wanted to leave a legacy, not as a vineyard, because it wasn't always a vineyard. It was always meant to be seniors' care, and I'm still nursing, so I'm sorry I use the care word a lot, because it is designated as, in the OCP, they bought it for the reason as zone for seniors. They even made the name for Shaughnessy's Green. They named it that property. So that's one of the reasons I bought into the property, and that's one of the reasons why the Lang families still continue to this day to be grateful to say they would like to leave this legacy for Summerland. So with that in mind, we wanted to strike out to get a developer. We are so fortunate to meet the Lark Group. And not only having the Lark Group beside us, this group is designated to be one of the major developers that is concerned about leaving a fantastic footprint, not because they do great work across Canada or build hospitals and retirement communities that their accolades have been resounded by others, because they leave a footprint that they want to belong to the community. And they have said what they say and say what they've done. And they will continue to do that. So they are a great company, and we, the Langs and Tamlin, myself, are excited to be with the Lark Group. Now the Lark Group we needed a care partner. So the Lark Group brought in St. Elizabeth, and when St. Elizabeth came in, of course being Canadian's largest nonprofit, they also want to be part of the Summerland community. They want to be married to the community similar to the Lark Group because they want to leave behind a legacy of care. They also bought into the ICASA project. Now, we have to remind ourselves there's a lot of false things that are going out there in communication because they don't understand. Everybody gets care at ICASA. 24/7 care. It's a choice. There's a memory care. We're looking at a complex care area if there's an RFP comes up. There's a lot of exciting things for Summerland to be there. In fact, home care division is being brought in from St. Elizabeth. There's recruiting styles that St. Elizabeth will also bring in, and they'll probably talk about it further. So we have a wonderful, wonderful group here. We have the Tamlin family legacy. I've been messing up sometimes when I was a kid. I used to play knocky knocky nine door in some of the doors. I apologize for that. It was fun at the time. The other thing is that we have the Lang families. The Lang families love Summerland. They want to live at ICASA as I do. They want to be cared for at ICASA. We're still going to try to keep, not try, we're still keeping the vineyards in the back, and the Langs are going to be teaching everybody how to grow wine. And of course we can have some wine with their dinner. They want to belong to the project. Also with the Lark family and the St. Elizabeth family, there's one thing missing, and that is the Summerland family. We just wish and we hope that you'll let us into your homes of care, all of Summerland, and let us be part of Summerland again. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Ryan Prasad of Ryan Prasad Consulting Group. I just want to thank the council and the community for giving me an opportunity to talk about my craft. I run a small market research company and customer insight group, which is AKA I'm a data geek, and I just appreciate you guys giving me a chance to talk today. I'm specifically here to talk about a report that was submitted dated January 15, 2018. It was identified for the council as of January 22nd under item 6, just for your reference. And I'm actually here to highlight a few findings and answer any questions that councils may have after this session. And again, I just want to kind of clarify why I'm here and who I'm representing. I'm representing myself, but I'm also representing the Lark Group as they contracted me out and they gave me one mandate. Their mandate was, don't tell us what we want to know, tell us what we need to know. Take a look at the data, see what we can provide. And that's what I did. So there's 3 sources of data that we talk about. The first one is the petition that was organized by the Summerlanders for Sensible Development. The second one was Lark's public outreach. The third one was Lark's follow-up conversation with petition signees. Okay, so those are the 3 items that we've looked at. And ultimately, when we looked at this information, the one theme that came out of this is we were unable to provide clarity around the percentage of individuals that actually are opposed to the project. Okay, so what we did is we took a look at the petition signees as of the end of November. I know there's been a few more signees that came in, but we're looking as of the end of November. And we looked at a number of signees that equated to about 2,690 signees. Okay? We took a look at those signees, and what we found was about 1,700 of them are actually usable. The remaining were duplicates, not eligible, or couldn't read what the information was. There was no accurate address, or they didn't have a relevant Summerland address. Okay? We took a deeper look at the petition itself. As a research professional, one of the key things that we try to do is make sure that when a respondent, when a citizen, when anyone is asked a question, they're provided with clarity as it relates to being mutually exclusive. The petition itself identified 3 areas. Do you want to support the preservation of agricultural land? Do you want to save the fish hatchery? And then the third point was, does it make sense to have a seniors development on high hazard, steep sloped area of Summerland? Okay, so if you answered yes to the first 2, and you also answered yes to the third one, that would suggest that you would be in support of the seniors development as well as the support of the preservation of ag land and fish hatchery. So from our perspective, we were unable to provide any clarity as to the amount of people that actually don't support the development. Okay. As it relates to Lark's public outreach, the one piece of information that we have is that they have 1,200 support letters, right? And the other piece was they reached out to the targeted petition signees, and they were able to contact about 300, of which 65% of them shifted their point of view. So that suggests to us that there may be some information within the community that's not clear, and we need to do a better job providing some facts around what exactly are the issues here, because once we've had a conversation with them, they seem to have shifted their perspective. Okay. And then the last point that we've been pretty clear with Lark on, as well as any kind of petition signees, is when we go out to public outreach, it's really important that we have a representative sample. Meaning, it's not just about having a representative sample as it relates to the amount, so 3,405, it's really important that we have clarity as to the type of individuals that are actually signing that, because in terms of demographics, age, gender, whatever the case is, because it's really difficult to assume that everyone, and make generalizations around that everyone would be in support or oppose it without clarity as how representative the sample is. So we did provide a recommendation for Lark for future outreach, so that's something that they would consider including that, so we make sure everyone has an equal voice. Just want to thank you guys for the opportunity.
Good afternoon to the Summerland City Council. My name is Mel Larson. I live at 6316 Solly Road. I have lived there on the corner of Solly and Latimer for 28 years. Not opposed to development. I'm just opposed to the location in a ravine. One way out only. If there was a wildfire or a slide, one would not survive it. It does happen. Wild animals have at least common sense to have two ways out. Humans could actually learn from it. I would never put my mother or my father in a ravine. I would put animals in a ravine that could fly out. I wouldn't put a person in there. The fish hatchery is one recreation you have for people to visit. 300 lakes are replenished all the time with the fish from our hatchery, which would be proud to be able to say that we do it. And it's good for the younger generation to go fishing. We could jeopardize that badly. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council, and attendees. Karen Walker, 6500 McDonald Place. I've spent a great deal of time trying to educate myself on the bank's Crescent proposal. I have reviewed the OCP, the cultural plan, the Lower Town strategic plan, and the agricultural plan, and I do not see a vision for a development of this size anywhere. So it concerns me when it appears that a developer is driving this vision instead of our council. I understand that one of the most important responsibilities of municipal councillors is approving development. Shouldn't this be based on the OCP plan? Isn't this plan about having a clear vision for the municipality, not for today, but for at least 20 years from now? The Bank Crescent area is zoned agricultural to medium density. The applicant is seeking high density. There is no other development of this size in this town, and cramming a significant number of residents into a gully does not make sense. The Advisory Planning Committee and the Agricultural Committee do not support the development. If their advice is not listened to, what is the purpose of having these committees? Many reasons against this proposal have been elaborated on by many others in the community. The risk to the trout hatchery's water supply, the loss of viable agricultural land, the narrow and steep roads, poor access to downtown for the residents of this proposed development, the questionable need for this kind of housing surrounding red zones, etc. So I won't reiterate any of these points. Instead, I keep trying to visualize several 6-story buildings in the Banks Crescent Valley. At the same time, I try to visualize the same large-scale development in the middle of Garnet Valley, and it doesn't fit that location either. In reference to another proposal under consideration, Councillor Carlson stated October 23rd at a council meeting that we should respect the people who live there and have for a long time. We have a responsibility to those neighbors. This should apply to all neighborhoods, including Banks Crescent area. Bottom line, the scope and size of this project doesn't fit this neighborhood. I am just a narrator of this letter, and I thank the author for all the hard work that was put into it, and thank them for allowing me to read it to you. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Helen Byrne, and I'm from Hamilton, Ontario, and I am here in my role as National Vice President for Seniors Living Program with St. Elizabeth. We are very excited to work with the LARC Group on this project, and I wanted to just take a little bit of time to fully explain what St. Elizabeth is. We are a not-for-profit charitable organization, and we are powered by people, and people first and foremost, who are dedicated to changing lives, the healthcare system, and society for the better. We have over 9,000 employees on a national basis, and in the past 10 years, we've done over 50 million visits to residents and clients across the country. We have over 500 partners in First Nation, Inuit, Métis communities, healthcare organizations, and innovative organizations across the provinces and territories. We're going to bring our 110 years of healthcare experience to the ICASA project. And we see the ICASA project as an aging in place, open to be able to come in, live, get the amount of care you want, when you want it, how you want it, wherever you want it, and then being able to increase that care or decrease it as your needs change within the project. We are going to be having independent living. Again, could be a little bit of support, no support. Again, the choice would be yours. We're looking at assisted living, where you could have that 24-hour care. And again, the memory care and complex care as needs arise. That would be the heavier and more specialized care. We are able to provide all of those services. We do provide those services now within the community. We envision a wellness center with therapists. Again, you might break your arm skiing. You need that little bit of support. We can have that therapist. You might never use the wellness center, or you may use the wellness center under your own steam, for lack of a better word. As an innovative organization, we do use technology now, and we use it as a tool for our caring team of people, our healthcare aides, our nurses, our therapists, our other professionals, to use to enhance that level of care, ensuring that they have access to up-to-date best practices, and being able to connect to the appropriate specialists, whether they're in-house, local, or national. We do have that network. We will be recruiting, just as we do with any community, we will recruit within the local community, as well as giving opportunities to those that are already employed within the St. Elizabeth on a national basis to improve and enhance and have those opportunities to move upwards into the organization. We envision our core part is to bring healthcare to people whenever, wherever, and however they want it. So as part of ICASA community, we envision the team supporting all of the residents of Summerland, not just in the ICASA project, but we can bring that in the surrounding community. Again, we want to bring care home wherever you envision and determine your home is. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. My name is David Cullen, and I'm with CTQ Consultants from Kelowna. We've provided engineering, civil engineering and traffic engineering support for the project, and just wanted to run through a couple of the key things. We've worked very closely with staff to review the servicing requirements for the project. We've gone into a much greater level of detail than we typically would at this phase of a project in the rezoning. We're very confident that we can provide, or that the district can provide the sanitary sewer and the water services that would be required to support the project. We've gone through and we've looked at what the capacity of the existing sanitary system is, and we're confident that the existing infrastructure, through some additional support just generally around the site, will easily be accommodated. We've looked at with the water system, there are some upgrades that would be required just adjacent to the project. But one thing we haven't completed that we will complete with the district is full modeling of the water system once we've got all the pipes and everything in place. But we've determined what the flows are for the domestic flows, and there's more than sufficient capacity. And we've also looked at what the fire flow requirements are to ensure the safety of the site. For the stormwater, we've looked at the stormwater that would be generated by the addition of the hard surfaces to the existing area. We've looked at the 1 in 100-year storm events, the 1 in 10-year storm events for the attenuation of the water on site, and we've looked at the 1 in 2-year storm events for collecting that water and treating that water through a storm collection system to look at collecting any oils or dirts that would be generated through the stormwater. We're very confident that we'll be able to complete a storm system that will have no downstream effects. We've also looked at the roadway infrastructure, and part of that was we did a traffic analysis of what we felt that the development would be generating in the way of traffic. One of the things that when we do the traffic analysis is we looked at what a typical residential condominium would generate in the way of traffic. We don't, and the LARC group don't envision that this project is going to be typical in that it's going to be more generated towards seniors style housing. So we anticipate that the numbers that we've generated through the traffic study will be less than what has been projected, and we don't feel that the impact on the community will be as high as what was anticipated in the traffic study. The numbers that were in the traffic study were still fairly low for this intense of a development because of the we've added a component for the assisted living and the seniors housing that's in addition to the condominium development. To support the additional traffic, we did a review of the existing infrastructure. One of the things the existing neighborhood is very deficient in at this point is sidewalks. There's a minimal provision for sidewalks today. So we've worked with the district staff to look at where sidewalks would be implemented, and we've anticipated that we will be providing sidewalks. We're looking at providing a sidewalk fully on the full length of Latimer Road. We're looking at providing a sidewalk for everywhere on Solly Road that a sidewalk does not currently exist. There are a little bits of sidewalk on Solly at this point. But we're looking at adding sidewalks for the remainder of Solly. We're also looking at doing some intersection improvements at the Latimer Road and Solly Road intersection. Right now, the Latimer Road is a bit offset for the two legs of the intersection, and that's a bit confusing for drivers. So we're looking at adding a left turn bay for the traffic that's coming up from the development, and that will help position the Latimer traffic better with the Solly Road intersection. So we feel that will be an improvement over the existing condition. So overall, we think we've looked at the engineering to a very high degree, and we're very certain that the district can provide the services for the project without undermining the services that are currently being provided. provided for the rest of the district. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, for this ability to speak directly to you on this very important issue for Summerland. My name is Ian McIntosh. I live at 13615 Latimer Avenue, right across the road from this proposed new development. I'm going to be impacted just as much as anyone else in the neighborhood, and while I have no vested interest in this particular development, I have a huge interest in the future health of Summerland. I've lived in Summerland for pretty close to 50 years, and I've seen the loss of our full-service hospital. I watched the alternative approval process for our RCMP building fail, and it took a referendum to save our local detachment. I saw us come within a hair's breadth of losing our Trout Creek Elementary School, and I suspect that fight is not over. I just read that we are going to lose our Bank of Montreal branch, which has been serving Summerland for over 100 years. And I suspect our next fight is going to be the fate of our recreation center and pool. It's way past its life expectancy, and we certainly don't have the tax base to replace it. I think it's time for some serious input to the plus side of our municipal balance sheet. We now have this Banks Crescent development in front of us. Is it in the ideal spot? Maybe not. Is it without risk? Probably not, which is exactly why you hire experts in the field to identify, quantify, and see if the risk can be mitigated, which has been done, and every single report, professional report I've read, everyone agrees that the risk is minimal and can be mitigated. Is it the perfect development? Probably not. Is it so imperfect that we should throw it out? Of course not. What we need to do now is determine whether the benefits that this development will bring will outweigh the impacts in the neighborhood. And the benefits are significant. Over $120 million in capital investment for our town, 80 to 100 brand new jobs to Summerland, over $500,000 in tax revenue and user fees every single year, which will go up as our taxes and our user fees go up. A one-time payment of over $3 million in capital, in development cost charges and building permit fees. Significant upgrades to our aging infrastructure that the developer is going to provide to our water system, our sewer system, our electrical system, our drainage system, our road system, including sidewalks. And not only all of that, but over 400 units added to our residential inventory, which for available units is almost non-existent at the moment. The impacts, significant impacts, appear to be increased local traffic and loss of view. And these issues are real and they're important to the local neighborhood, but I certainly don't believe that they outweigh the extreme benefit to our community that this development is going to bring. And I think it would be very sad and regressive if we do not take advantage of this very significant opportunity for Summerland. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. My name is Ramey Allard. I'm a hydrogeologist, or for lack of a better way to say it, a groundwater engineer. I have over 30 years of experience, of which about 20 have been in the valley here. I've given presentations to not this council, but previous councils before. And so I'm hoping and I'd like to think that the reason I'm involved on this project with our project team for the LARC group is because I've been around a while and I know a thing or two about groundwater in the Okanagan Valley. I'd like to quickly talk about groundwater. I'm going to talk fast. I'm probably not going to get through all of it, but I will be available later for questions should you have them. I'd like to point out that Shaughnessy Springs has been studied before, at least a couple times that I know of. There's a provincial report that was done back in the 1970s that looked at the best information they had at the time regarding the size of the aquifer and the water quality in the aquifer and where the provenance or where the groundwater recharge to that aquifer comes from. The best information that we still have is that the aquifer is recharged partially by water coming down the Garnet Creek Valley and also coming down the Meadow Creek Valley. And they focus and build up in behind us under the majority of Summerland, and that flow comes down to Shaughnessy Springs. So to just put that in perspective, this aquifer is at least, and this is not accounting for Meadow Valley and Garnet Valley, this aquifer is at least 5 kilometers squared. And the footprint area of this development is less than 0.5% of that footprint area. I'd also like to say that the aquifer is about 14 meters deep below the ground, and the water table in the aquifer at its closest point to any of the development is about 14 meters below ground, and laterally about 40 meters or 120 feet away from the first portion of Shaughnessy Springs, the upper spring. The aquifer is not confined. It's not the type of aquifer where you drill into it and you poke a hole through it, as it were, that the water is going to come flowing up above ground and cause a big liability issue. I might add, I've worked on lots of those projects for the province and for people that are defending themselves against prosecution by the province. So those are big issues, but we don't have that type of aquifer here. So really, the two issues that we have under question here with regards to Shaughnessy Springs is people think that there may be an impact to the spring and that it will be lost forever. Well, let's talk about slope stability. I defer to my esteemed colleague here, Mr. Paul Glenn. He doesn't blow his own horn, but he has a PhD. He's a very smart man. He's been working for a long time in the field. He knows what he's talking about. I'd like to identify that when we first got started on this project, in our very first report, we said that, you know, there's a remote chance here that maybe vibration might cause some turbidity. And we identified that in our own report. We said, hey, we should maybe think about this. So we started monitoring the water quality in the aquifer to get what we call baseline water quality data, to find out what is the actual normal levels of turbidity in the aquifer. And they're very low. They're like 0.1 turbidity units. Then we got to a few months back and we actually decided we should do some calculations and determine that if vibration had any effect on the aquifer such that you would cause turbidity. And so you have to understand what turbidity is to start with. It's the really finest grained portions of the aquifer that can migrate through all of the rest of the stuff that's there. And by all the other stuff, I mean there's big stuff and small stuff and intermediate stuff. And so water flows in between all of those interstices. Now, if you had vibration and you shook that all up, you get a little bit of turbidity occurring for a short period of time, but the aquifer heals itself because it naturally filters out the turbidity. That's why you get fresh, clean water flowing out of a hillside, is because all the turbidity is being held back in the aquifer, or all the fine-grained material. It's not turbidity. So what I just want to say is that the hatchery has been monitoring water quality for a long time, and they do have naturally occurring turbidity events which occur. And those are the result of, you get an intense rainfall over a short period of time, and so it will erode a little bit of the soil away on the slope. And eventually that turbidity settles out and the spring goes back to being normal. And these are well documented at the hatchery. Okay, I guess I'm done there. Thank you for your time. I'm available later for more questions.
Good afternoon, Mayor and members of Council, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jessica Paulson. I work at the Health and Technology District, and my address is 1650 Barnaby Street, Vancouver. A few years ago, I moved to BC from Sweden, where I grew up in a small town very similar to Summerland. I actually worked several years at a salmon hatchery. I now have a Master of Science, and since arriving here in Canada, I've been researching urban prosperity and looking at conditions currently prevailing in BC and in this town, with intent to enable decision makers and the communities to make adequate, informed, and evidence-based decisions. Over the past year, I've engaged with Summerland residents, gathering qualitative data and pairing this with quantitative data available from the past 2 decades. Based on the findings of these efforts, I am here to tell you that I support the proposed ICASA project, and I would like to take a few moments to tell you why. Historically, the topic of shrinking urban areas has been taboo in politics, as stagnation in population doesn't inspire confidence in the community and often deteriorates municipal morale. Today, however, urban shrinkage is and should be an acknowledged issue, and, in my opinion, it is our responsibility as residents, citizens, and decision makers to wake up, to face reality, and to take action by addressing prevailing negative trends and the implications these pose to daily life in our hometowns. A look around Summerland will show what can happen if a community experiences little to no growth in business and in population, as was the case in my own hometown. Data shows that for years, growth in Summerland has been low. And rather than exuding small-time charm, Summerland is showing signs of stagnation. And there is a growing body of evidence that confirms these trends, such as the closing of business, with the Bank of Montreal being the most recent in line, or the difficulty of keeping Summerland schools open, as has been the case and concern with Trout Creek Elementary, for instance. Keeping and creating local employment is key to help stem the outflow of residents and attract new ones, to keep the schools full, business strong, and grow the community base to help support and maintain the infrastructure it needs, now and in the future. There is real reason to ask, what will the Summerland community demographic profile look like in 10 years' time? And how will the Summerland community create and fund the services to meet this scenario now? The types of services needed to serve the aging citizens of Summerland will change in both nature and quantity, along with the need to fund these services. Accelerating new business investments in the community, both commercial and institutional, is key to achieving a resilient and prosperous economy and a sustainable, age-friendly town. The core purpose and mission of the District of Summerland is, in its own words, to foster a progressive, healthy, and innovative community by continually improving our social, environmental, cultural, and economic well-being for present and future generations. Supporting a sustained local economy, job creation, and senior well-being is supporting Summerland. I want to see Summerland prosper in ways that my own hometown never did because of failure to take action. And so, based on my research and findings, I can confidently say that I support the ICASA project. Thank you.
Hello, Mayor, councillors and everyone here. I'm Alison Crawford and I live at 14211 Latimer Avenue, which is just across the Solly Road on the other side from the Latimer Avenue, which will access this new proposed development. I have a concern and some confusion over this development being put forward as a seniors housing development with provision for people to transition smoothly from one level of care to the next, when it would appear we still have no confirmation on which care levels will actually be provided. Even last September, in an email I received from LARC Group in response to my questions concerning this, states that final uses will not be determined until the city process is completed, whatever that may be. The current proposed units are townhouses, condos, independent living, dementia and residential care, this email states. And it also states assisted living is not planned at this moment.